Now, former Treasury Director-General Dondo Mogajane joins me now in studio for his reflections on Tito Mboweni's passing. Dondo Mogajane, thank you so much for your time and for joining us this evening. Just talk to us about what it feels like now, knowing that Tito Mboweni is no longer with us.
You know, it's sad that we lost, Governor number 8, Mr. Mboweni. I'm saddened. I heard the news early hours of this morning, and I couldn't sleep after that. I worked very well with Mr. Mboweni. He was, he knew how to push us, and he knew how to make us angry for the right reasons. and it's a loss. It's a loss to the country because he had brains that could not match anybody. I'm saying this with due respect to all the other people that I worked with, but he was different. He was different in that he knew what to say and when not to say things and how to say them and how to motivate us. It was a very short spell that I worked with him, but for me, I think it's one story that can never be forgotten. And I said, and I was thinking about what am I going to say about him. I mean, he took through this country through very difficult times during the times of COVID. How he navigated. And I was going through the messages between him and I since he joined. I mean, I couldn't sleep. I was just reading these messages. And I sent him, interesting enough, last week, Monday, I would normally send him jokes, things that he used to say. But last week, Monday, I sent him a message that he never read. It was a video that I recorded him. It was during a meeting. I think it was a G20 meeting or something like that. And he was telling the world, talking about vaccines and vaccine nationalism and how, these part one countries or developed countries were holding these vaccines when we needed them as Africa.
Right.
And he was simply just putting his foot down and saying, you shall not continue doing this. But he was a very interesting man. I mean, I enjoyed working with him.
I can imagine. I mean, Governor number 8, as he referred to himself, even when he was finance minister, would often go against the grain. Like you say, he would make you unhappy for all the right reasons. And one of them was that when he joined in 2018 as a Minister of Finance, he insisted that public servant salaries should be held constant and the bailout of state-owned companies should come to a halt. What was that period like?
It was very interesting because he said, I'm prepared to go to court. And as DG, you are the one who signed all those affidavits. I signed a thick affidavit like that, whereby at the time, we were taking labor on about salary increases. And the argument was simple that it's unaffordable. And we knew the fiscals. We knew that we were not going to be able to carry the increases that was requested at the time. We won the matter in court, by the way, but we didn't boast. And he said, you are not going to go on TV or national radio and newspaper and be happy about it. Because it was not about who won and who didn't win. It was about the principle that says, let's grow the economy so that we're able to pay more salaries in future. That was him. And it was not easy. But on state-owned companies and the bailout, he was very clear. He did not mince his words. He did not mince his words in cabinet, in at least meetings that I attended with him. But even to us as the Treasury, he warned us not to even think about any future bailouts. He stood firm on the SAA, if you remember. And I remember I was so frustrated once. And he said, I'm going home to Mahuba's Kloof. You can talk to me about any other thing other than SAA. And he was right. I mean, I remember there was an IMC meeting once on SAA. Former Minister of Transport, then the current Secretary General of the ANC, was chairing this meeting. We were looking for him the whole night. And he had switched his phone off. And he said, I am not going to attend that meeting because he had a view about SAA, that enough was enough. We had given them 10.5 billion, I remember at the time. And he was not prepared to give them any more cent. So his stance was the correct one at the time because he knew the fiscals. And one other interesting thing, by the way, the day he joined the Treasury, a week later, he said, we had just bought 2 X5 BMWs for the minister then and the deputy minister. He said, you are going to sell these cars. I don't want them. I said, yes, Governor, I'll sell the cars, but I didn't end up selling them. I just kept them on the side because it was going to be a waste. So we kept the cars. He was different. He drove himself when he started. He never used to claim for anything. I mean, I would go to him and say, Minister, you are entitled to a cell phone allowance. You are entitled. He says, I don't want. I'm saving this country and I'm saving it the way I want to. Don't tell me how. And we just left that. We would laugh about it. But we had our fights. And my biggest fight with him was that I cannot be driving to Makhuba's Kloof all the time to get you to sign documents, to get you to meet with people and so on. But it was very interesting to work with him when he's focused.
And what, when he's focused, what was it about that caliber of leadership that he possessed that if you could duplicate to other leaders, especially in government, you would say that's the one thing that needs to be duplicated and multiplied upon?
When he came in, he said, Dondo, you're working with young kids. I said, what do you mean, Minister? These are people who've been carrying us before you came. He says, no, these are youngsters. I mean, there was Tsepiso Mwahludi, Buipuso Mudise, Ian Stewart, Catherine McLeod, Nomvuyo Guma, Edgar, Mampo is now the current. He says, these are kids. I said, Minister, all you need to do is to work with. I said, no, we'll work together. What he did not only say these are kids or these are youngsters. He then began on a program to really make them ready for action later, to prepare them for later. I'm saying this with the utmost respect for him because Mampo currently is the Deputy Governor of the Central Bank. Buipuse is the DDG. Edgar is a DDG currently. These are, and when he started, they were just in acting positions. They were not ready at the time. We thought we were ready, but they were not. I remember one day he says, there was an ANC Lekgotla, and we know as government, we stay far from ANC Makgotla at the time, but as DGs, of course, because we are cadres deployed, and we would go. But he said, look, I want to have a meeting with all of these guys, these youngsters. Come to somewhere in the East Rand, Lekgotla was going to be there. We'll meet them, they'll prepare us because I want to sell something to the ANC, this economic options for South Africa, the paper that he was talking to. I want to sell it to the ANC so that we adopt it. Then the next thing we met for breakfast that morning, he says, no, I just spoke to the president and the chair. All of you must come with me into the meeting of the ANC. I said, Minister, you can't. You can't. You can't expose officials of the Treasury to the ANC. He said, no, I want them in there. The next thing, the stage was prepared. All of us were up in there and we're engaging with this paper with the ANC colleagues. So for me, I think he knew how to empower youngsters. He knew how to empower us and actually patiently go with us and help us navigate what then was a very tough environment. And with this paper that he instructed, the colleagues in the Treasury, Kheta Dlamini was still very, very junior at the time. Roy Haverman was also working on this paper with him. This paper culminated into what today was Operation Vulindlela source document, because the thoughts and the discussions and the thinking started from there. All he did was, as a leader, he was able to just show us the broad framework of what he wanted. And after that, we had to, as technocrats, we had to pitch in and do what we were best at. And finally, we produced a paper that informed what became Operation Vulindlela after he and the president, together with the president, they kind of conceptualized this thing. And finally, Operation Vulindlela was born. But for me, it was something. And then he says, I'm not going to end here. I want to take 3 of the ladies to cabinet. I said, okay, that I'll support, Minister. Empowerment again. Yeah. I remember our cabinet meeting. It was Nomvuyo Guma, it was Tsepiso Mwahludi, it was Buipuso Mudise, and Catherine McLeod. And I was there as DG, 4 young women, according to him, youngsters, according to him, and myself. We were in cabinet. We planned our presentation in such a way that each one was going to make some presentation, snippets of what we were talking about. We did exactly that. And out of that, instead of cabinet colleagues, his colleagues talking about the presentation, but they were just marveling at what he was seeing and the new breed of youngsters that he had created. So for me, I think I would advise the current, look at youngsters, know how to empower them, be patient with them. That's what he did at the Treasury. And by the time Minister, Ino Gorongwane came, these youngsters were superstars. And today we look at them looking at them and say, we wish we were there, Right. So I'm happy that he was able to instill that in us.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all of that with us. It would be very interesting to know if he cooked some Glenrig lunch meals for you guys at the office. He did not.
All we know is that they delivered a box full of fish in his office in Cape Town, just before one of the budgets. That was another very funny moment.
So that's certainly
am I going to eat all of these fish? So yeah, but he was something. He made us laugh when we have to laugh. He fought with us and he stood by us, by the way.
Right.
Tito stood by us anytime. I remember when the public protector issue came up, he said, Spirit Dondo, I'll stand by him. When the public protector said, he says, let any one of you who does not have a traffic fine, let them raise their hand.
And he was the one to stand.
And he was the one to stand by me and stand against the public protector and protected his staff and protected me and spoke against what at the time the public protector's onslaught on me at the time.
All right.